Did you ever think a quiet suburban neighborhood could hide a criminal empire so dark it'd make your blood run cold? Let me tell you about the day I nearly lost my daughter to a gun-wielding HOA president, only to find out she was secretly working for the FBI to bring him down. My name's Sarah Bennett, a 42-year-old single mom and former military intelligence officer, and this is the story of how my daughter Emily and I unraveled a money laundering scheme disguised as the perfect American neighborhood. It all started when I moved to Willow Creek Estates, a picturesque suburban community with flawless lawns and matching mailboxes. After years in military intelligence, dodging real threats in war zones, I craved a fresh start somewhere safe for a new civilian job at Horizon Insurance. The house was affordable, in a great school district, even if my 24-year-old daughter Emily didn't need schools anymore. But what looked like a dream neighborhood was a nightmare in disguise, run by an HOA that wasn't just strict, it was sinister. My first hint came at the HOA orientation, where I met Richard Hayes, the HOA president. Mid-50s, salt and pepper hair, always sporting a scowl unless he was schmoozing certain residents, never women, I noticed. He wore his title like a badge of honor, practically strutting as he declared, "We keep things tight here, Ms. Bennett. Rules aren't optional, they're law." His VYB screamed petty dictator, the kind I'd seen too often in my military days, small men clinging to power. Then there was Marcus Reed, his burly ex-Marine sidekick, who loomed at the back of the room, sizing up newcomers like we were suspects. When Richard laid down the law, Marcus would nod, muttering, "Order builds community." Their synchronized act felt rehearsed, unsettling, but I brushed it off. After dealing with life or death stakes, an overzealous HOA seemed like a minor annoyance. I figured I'd keep my head down, follow their ridiculous rules about grass height and paint colors, and focus on my new life. My job wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, a welcome change from the chaos of my past. Then Emily showed up 3 weeks later claiming she was between jobs and needed to crash for a bit, working remotely for a tech startup. I knew my daughter, her sharp mind, her summa cum laude degree in criminal justice, the way her left eyebrow twitched when she was hiding something. She was cagey, taking hushed calls in the bathroom with the shower running, coming home with bruises she blamed on a kickboxing gym. The VY brand girl who'd once told me everything was gone, replaced by someone guarded, always scanning for exits, checking reflections for tails. It was like looking in a mirror from my own intelligence days. One night I caught her with papers strewn across her bed, VYing them into a folder when I walked in. "Just work stuff, Mom," she said, her smile not reaching her eyes. Curiosity got the better of me. While she showered, I found a burner phone and a notebook with coded names and dates in her desk. My heart pounded. Either Emily was in deep with something illegal, or she was working a job that demanded serious security. Neither option felt good. Meanwhile, the HOA was tightening its grip. Within a month, I'd gotten 2 violation notices: Do Law 100 for Leah VYing my recycling bin out too long, and Do Law 200 for unapproved flowers that came with the house. When I tried to appeal at an HOA meeting, Richard shut me down with a smirk, clearly enjoying targeting new residents, especially women like me. What bugged me more was how some longtime residents, Richard's cronies, got away with worse violations scot-free. And the fines? Cash or money order only, no cards, no checks. When I asked about digital payments, Richard waved me off. Traditional methods work best. In 2025? That was a red flag. My neighbor, Carla Torres, a 38-year-old accountant and single mom, became my first ally. "Don't take it personally," she whispered after a tense HOA meeting. "Richard picks on new women until they play his game." She'd been tracking his shady enforcement for years and dropped a bombshell: the HOA's finances were a mess. Fees were double what similar neighborhoods charged, and the money vanished into vague, administrative costs, or projects that never happened. Over coffee, Carla showed me a spreadsheet vying Ida Do Law 40,000, playground upgrade, was just a Do Law 5,000 swing set repaint. When she'd questioned it years ago, she got slapped with $2,000 $2,000 in backdated fines. "Message received," she said grimly. Carla stayed for her son's special needs program, like many residents who couldn't leave without appending their lives. Richard knew it, exploiting their ties to keep them trapped. Things got creepier when I caught him filming my house one evening, hiding behind a tree. He claimed he was checking for violations, but couldn't name any. The next day, I got a $2,000 $300 fine for grass a quarter-inch too tall. That was ID. I started digging into Richard Hayes. Public records showed he'd been a county sheriff's deputy for 25 years but retired early under a cloud, with sealed allegations of corruption and excessive force. After levying the force, he'd wormed his way into the HOA presidency, and that's when fees skyrocketed and enforcement turned brutal. Marcus, I learned, had been dishonorably discharged from the Marines for assaulting a vendor overseas, only to land as the HOA's security chief, a role created just for him. Other board members were ciphers, cowed into silence by Richard's intimidation. Worse, I found similar patterns in nearby HOAs: fee hikes, selective rules, and ex-cops or soldiers with shady pasts running the show, all tied to a murky property management company that led to offshore accounts. This wasn't just corruption, it was organized crime. I didn't know Emily was already on the case, working at a level I couldn't imagine. The truth hit one night when I saw Richard corner her in our driveway at midnight, grilling her like a cop about where she'd been. She stayed calm, but his aggression wasn't neighborly, it was surveillance. When I confronted her the next morning, she brushed it off. "He's just a control freak, Mom." But I saw her checking her car for trackers, sweeping the house for bugs. She'd warned me early on to watch Richard, hinting he might have sinister motives, and now I wondered what she knew. At the next HOA meeting, a new resident, Daniel Carter, a financial lawyer, challenged Richard's opaque budgets, citing state laws requiring transparency. Richard snapped, "Financials are for board members only." But Daniel rattled off statutes that proved otherwise. The board squirmed, one member nearly agreeing before Richard's glare silenced her. They weren't conspirators, they were scared. Afterward, Daniel suggested coffee to continue the conversation, his tone hinting at more than small talk. That night, Emily pulled me to a playground, away from prying ears. "Mom, our house might be bugged," she whispered. "Daniel's not who he seems." "Neither am I." My stomach dropped, but I stayed calm as she explained we'd talk at dawn. Over dinner, she typed a warning on her phone: "Saw house not safe." Saw we found a listening device behind a bookshelf, not cheap, but law enforcement grade. Then the power cut out, only at our house, and someone tried breaking in through the back door. In the dark, Emily was a pro, handing me a tactical flashlight and positioning herself to ambush the intruder. I smelled aftershave I'd noticed on one of Richard's buddies before heavy footsteps entered. The intruder, later identified as Tom Vaughn, paused, then moved toward Emily. She didn't flinch. When he got close, she recorded him admitting Richard sent him to check security. Police arrived, led by Detective Brian Holt, who eyed the bug and said, "This is Pro Gear, not Radio Shack." Tom clammed up, demanding a lawyer. Brian, who'd known Richard on the force, warned me privately. "He had issues back then. Call me directly if there's trouble." Once the cops left, Emily activated a signal jammer and came clean. "Mom, I'm FBI, not a coder. We're tracking a money laundering ring using HOAs to clean drug money and fund extremists. Richard's a major player." My little girl, who'd made me glittery cards as a kid, was an undercover agent. I was terrified and proud. She hadn't told me for security reasons, but the break-in changed that. My move to Willow Creek was a fluke, but it gave her cover. A daughter staying with Mom looks normal. The FBI had been watching this network for 18 months, using HOA's lax oversight to move millions through fake projects and fines. Richard's cop background let him dodge scrutiny, and Daniel was her partner, posing as a lawyer. The operation targeted ex-cops like Richard, burned by the system and hungry for power. His HOA role wasn't just a job, it was his redemption, a kingdom where he ruled while surveying criminals. Then Carla called, panicked. She'd overheard Richard and Marcus planning to handle a problem at our house. Emily's boss warned their safe meet-up spot was compromised. We fortified the house subtly overvying furniture to funnel intruders, setting noisemakers, planning escapes. Emily was a stranger in those moments, a seasoned agent, but still my determined girl. We surveyed the night, but slow cars with tinted windows kept circling. The FBI needed hard EVY tying Richard to the network's leaders, so we set a plan. I'd use my homeowner rights to probe financial discrepancies, leveraging my intelligence skills without joining the FBI op. Daniel revealed Richard's mistake. He'd stayed too long, 5 years instead of rotating out, vying patterns we could exploit. Through Carla, we met the HOA's accountant, Henry Walsh, a jittery man blackmailed over old gambling debts. After promises of immunity he spilled, the HOA was one of dozens funneling cash through layered shells to offshore accounts, with Richard meeting regional bosses in person quarterly. The next meeting was Friday, a chance to catch Richard with a kingpin. It was risky. His crew had already used violence to silence threats. They'd fleeced vulnerable residents, like 72-year-old widow Margaret Lane, out of due law $100,000 for a fake, legal fund, or forced others to sell homes cheap to the network's buyers. Richard called an emergency meeting, accusing me of subversive acts, like spying, when he'd filmed my house and housing an unauthorized resident, Emily. His threats backfired. Margaret stood up, slamming his rein, and others joined her. The room turned on him, and he and Marcus stormed out, furious. That night, our house felt wrong. Emily's laptop showed tampering attempts, and a note read, "Saw continue and face consequences." Saw the FBI up surveillance, but we learned Richard was meeting a network boss soon. Emily decided to plant a recorder in the HOA office, posing as dropping off an appeal. I watched from my car as backup. But Richard was there, catching her and pulling a gun. Through the window, I saw him on the phone, likely summoning Marcus. I slipped in through a maintenance door, heart racing. Richard was ranting. "I don't care who she is, she's in my office." Marcus arrived with a stranger, a network higher-up, who ordered Richard to clean this up permanently. I stepped in yelling, "Federal agents! Drop it!" Richard froze, gun wavering. Emily disarmed him in a flash, signaling the FBI. Tires screeched outside as agents swarmed, cuffing Richard, Marcus, and the boss. By dawn, FBI vans filled Willow Creek. The bust exposed 20 HOAs laundering $200 million yearly, tied to drugs and extremism. Richard, broken by his cop days and had been the perfect pawn. At trial, he got 28 years for everything from extortion to attempted murder. Emily's recordings sealed his fate. I helped rebuild the HOA, transparent and fair, while Emily rose in the FBI. Our bond grew stronger, forged in trust. Looking back, the signs were clear: sky-high fees, selective rules, intimidation. Richard never expected a mom with my training or a daughter with Emily's grit. If your HOA's fees seem off, rules hit some harder than others, or the books don't add up, dig deeper. Legit groups don't hide from homeowners. And if some HOA bully pulls a gun on your kid, let's hope they're as clueless as Richard about who they're messing with.